And we welcome you back to In Focus. And it's time now for our Africa Health Network report. Joining me now is health reporter Linord Moudou.
Hello,
with a look at the burden. Hey, Linord, you're going to take a look at the burden of HIV/AIDS and what kind of burden it is placing on grandmothers.
Absolutely,
right?
Absolutely. In sub-Saharan Africa, that is, we take a look at some HIV victims. The grandmother, UNICEF says HIV orphaning is exerting an enormous burden on grandmothers in sub-Saharan Africa. In many communities, grandmothers almost single-handedly care for millions of children orphaned because their parents died of AIDS. They are often left to raise their grandchildren with minimal resources and support. Poverty, hunger, and desolation are just a few of their challenges. Some grandmothers care for up to as many as 10 to 15 in one household. And in a documentary called Going Home, A Grandmother's Tribe, photojournalist Felix Massey, along with filmmakers Q Jing Wong and Dean Easterbrook, highlight the everyday struggle experienced by two grandmothers and their grandchildren in Finyula village, Kenya. Felix Massey, who grew up an orphan himself, explained why it is important to share these stories. You became an orphan at the age of 8 when you lost your mother. Tell us about that experience, how it impacted your life.
My mother died due to asthma attack, but her death was a big blow to the family because like any other struggling African single mother, she was the breadwinner and she was the beacon of her entire extended family. Life was difficult. We would have a meal once a day or not at all. We had no choice and we were voiceless.
Now, as an adult today, you are very much involved in fighting or advocating for grandmothers and grandchildren that are orphans. Why did you get involved?
The reason I took this as a challenge for myself, because it's my grandmother who rescued me with my good uncle who is still alive. I went to school, graduated. My brother went to college. I mean, both brothers went to college. And just when life was getting better, I lost my brother to AIDS.
Did that change your perception of the disease as to you needed to get involved somehow to make a difference?
My brother's death was a really reality that AIDS was real. Because I saw him, and within 3 weeks of staying with him, his body size had just changed. The guy had just dropped.
Now, HIV/AIDS is a subject that is addressed in this documentary, A Grandmother's Tribe. You were involved in the process. Tell us why it was important.
The story of the grandmothers, it's my own reflection, the way I see things, what I went through, even though this is an HIV-related, but I was not different. Any African child who is orphaned and suffering, the suffering degree is the same, whether from AIDS or just parents who died or abandoned. All these kids go through similarities. I asked my uncle, I said, you know, I'm interested in finding out about grandmothers who are taking care of orphan children. And he asked me why. I said, if you find, he said, there's so many. I said, if you find out, I want to do a story. And so I traveled to the village and did interviews of Frida. And she was so humble. She just opened her house for me to bring the camera into their lives. It turns out that Frida had lost all her 5 sons to AIDS. And then later on, she would bury her only husband, meaning she was left with 11 orphan children without a shelter.
Set in Kenya, A Grandmother's Tribe shines light on the lives of 2 grandmothers who, after losing their children to HIV and AIDS, are left to raise their orphaned grandchildren.
When you see these type of stories, how do you think that these grandmothers' lives can become better?
In the fight against HIV and AIDS, from my research and my own personal witness, I realized that the angle that we've been missing out a lot is the grandmothers. Because African grandmothers don't have retirement homes. They don't have manners. These people have never had any savings. They've never worked. They've been struggling on manual jobs. They've lost their sons and daughters who are their caregivers, and they've been forced to become parents for the second time. This time round, not taking care of their children, but their orphan children who might be 10 or 25. Where do they go? And I said, I think it's a subject, every time I see these women struggling, what comes to my mind is like, would I see my grandmother struggle like this?
What type of impact do you hope the film will accomplish or has accomplished?
The film so far, we've achieved so much. It's small, but I believe it's like every beginning of something, you can see hope, because today, since we started this story, we have 5 kids in university in this village. We have 40 grandmothers. We've taken to school 42 children. 22 have graduated. We still have 20 more in high school. And the grandmothers have a shared acreage that they plant crops and then take to the market. They also had 10 cows. Right now they have 30 cows, so they can have breakfast in the morning these days. And we built them shelter.
And A Grandmother's Tribe, produced by Borderless Productions, was screened worldwide, including Kenya and Canada, and recently at the FHI 360 Globe Theatre here in Washington. Dimiake?
Powerful story, Linord. Thank you so much. And Linord Moudou, whose reports for Africa Health Network reports, joins us every Tuesday and Thursday here on In Focus. And for more information on the Africa Health Network, be sure to visit our website, africahealthnetwork.com.